And a good morning to all of you from right here, MSNBC World Headquarters in New York. It is 7 o'clock here in the East, 4 out West. Welcome to Weekends with Alex Witt. Well, joining us for this morning's take, NBC's Mike Vickers in Richmond, Virginia, Kelly O'Donnell covering the president in Florida. In Washington, Atima Omara, a Democratic National Committee member from Virginia. Also, Julia Manchester from The Hill and Sean Sullivan from The Washington Post. Joining me now, Democratic strategist Atima Omara and an elected member of the Democratic National Committee from Virginia. In fact, Atima, you're the perfect person to talk about this. You have Virginia all over your resume.
Yes,
so let's get into this here. First, and most notably, you were involved with Ralph Northam's campaign when he ran for governor. So this whole racist photo, was it a surprise for you? And do you feel betrayed in any way?
Well, yes. I mean, and to start off, what happened, I think, just to kind of take you back a little bit, what sort of happened Friday night when this news sort of broke was, you know, I'm very, very glad, one, for having unlimited text messaging and phone call services, because everybody in Virginia, especially involved in politics, especially who are black Virginians who are involved in politics, were calling each other trying to figure out what happened. Like many folks, I had not been paid staff, but I had been a surrogate on the campaign. I hosted a fundraiser, which he came up for. I had a good relationship with him because I've been president of the Young Democrats of America, the first actually from Virginia for the organization. So, you know, both him and then Governor Terry McAuliffe, because Ralph Northam was lieutenant governor at that time, had called, you know, to congratulate me and send me emails. So I had some sort of existing relationship with him, as many did. And so it was just shock initially. You know, how can this person that we know, who's traveled around to black churches, who has attended a black church himself, who has elevated so many young black leaders in politics in the state, mentored them, supported them, championed so many African Americans who run for office, you know, have this in his past, right? So we were trying to figure this out. Was it something we missed? How was it not something that came up during the campaign? And so when we quickly came to realize for us as people who are working in politics that this could become a bigger issue, right? Mm-hmm. And, you know, we hoped in the morning hours when they said there was going to be a press conference, we said, okay, well, he's going to step aside for the good of the Commonwealth. He's acknowledged that he's in this photo. And then basically 12 hours later, I'm not in the photo. I've talked to elected officials who got that call from him and said, I'm not in the photo. Well, then it's on your yearbook page. What's happening here, right? And then, you know, you get to the 2:30 conference and he's like, it was misplaced. In my yearbook. I don't know how it ended up there.
But he also said he'd never even seen it there.
Right,
Come on now.
Right, and I know lots of individuals. I've never got every yearbook that I ever had, but I've seen images of myself, you know, in other people's yearbooks, and I've looked through them and whatever. Not everybody wants to buy their yearbook. And it's, you know, it's like the first time you've seen your yearbook. There's many people who've had it. There was somebody who commented, who was the wife of one of the graduates, who said, I've seen it for 10 years and wondered why, and the entire time he was running statewide, like it just never came up, right? So, you know, sort of separately aside from that, the problem then he added to in this press conference was that you realize that he was very quiet on Friday night because there was an awkward 2-3 hours where there was no comment from the governor's mansion, where he couldn't answer the question about whether he had been in blackface ever or not, because he realized he had. That was the problem. Because then you find out that he put on a little shoe polish and was in a blackface in another situation in 1984.
So Atima, is he trying then to spin this, if you will, that, wait a minute, I had a recollection of being in blackface. It was a different situation. So if I admit to that, but say this particular photo isn't the one what I knew instinctively I had been in blackface in a photo. I mean, is this plausible? And do you think that is what the dynamic was by those advising him, saying, admit to the one, say this one isn't the one, and if that's the case, can he be effective?
Yeah, and that's the problem. I think at the end of the day, a lot of folks, I appreciate a lot of the hot takes from folks who've not nationally, who are talking about politics in Virginia who aren't from here. Everybody that I've talked to, certainly who are African Americans who are political leaders in the state, be they elected officials in the party, run for office, whatever, no one believes that at the heart of who he is, that he is a racist. What we do believe is that, like many folks, specifically of his generation, but certainly even in my generation as a millennial, an older millennial, that you are affected by sort of the remnants of Jim Crow, of lingering white supremacy, certainly in the 80s. And he admitted that himself in the press conference. There are things that were said and done that would not be appropriate today. I think he realized that he had done this thing, and rather than at that time when he realized it, as he had this conversation with the campaign aide, as he admitted in that same press conference, he just, didn't talk about it. He could have used it. He could have come forward and talked about it as a learning experience, how he evolved. But he never admitted to it, and he just made the situation worse.
Atima, here's what's interesting. And looking at the president's tweet regarding Ed Gillespie's campaign, look, he may be absolutely right that had that photo surfaced during the campaign, Gillespie would have won. I mean, hindsight's 20/20, and this is all speculative. We have no idea. That said, how is it that photo never surfaced before now?
I'm just definitely going to say that there are probably some opposition research firms, not only for the Republican Party of Virginia, Gillespie's campaign, he was primary twice for lieutenant governor and for governor, who are probably never going to be hired in Virginia politics ever again.
So you're saying this was incompetence? Because I will say yesterday there were some speculating on my broadcast that they had this and chose not to use it. And I was like, really? Why would you not use it? What would be the backfiring of using it?
Right. I can't answer for that because I certainly wasn't staff. And, I've seen, there may have been some conservatives who may have had it, and they said, quote unquote, they couldn't verify it. All it took for that photo to be found was a reporter driving down to the library and pulling it out and checking. It's literally not someone's actual copy. It was actually going down to a library and finding it. Yeah.
Atima Amara, what a time. And I'm awfully glad for your insights. I mean, your recollection of this 24-hour period is quite remarkable.
I haven't had much sleep. But
I bet. But you look great, so that's good.
Well, thank you.
All right, Atima Amara, thank you so much. I'll talk with you again, no doubt.